you may have a question, how can physical therapy at your office help me with my low back pain? Well, there's lots of different ways that we can work with low back pain, or sometimes people have sciatica, which is when you have nerve irritation and it's the nerve down the back of the leg that's complaining. That nerve is the sciatic nerve. It's important to take a look at what kind of movement you have in your low back. If you have an area that's had degenerative changes, wear and tear, an injury, a herniated disc or a bulging disc from quite some time ago, or with aging in general, just the disc spaces get lower and lower and lower, and that makes less room for the exiting nerves. So all those kinds of conditions often do quite nicely when distribution of movement in the low back gets restored, and the movement needs to be in 3 planes. So we need to be able to curl forward and come back the other way. We need to be able to have bending to one side, bending to the other, and the ability to twist. So I've got a little Play-Doh model here of vertebrae. It doesn't really look like this, but it's kind of that idea. And sometimes what happens is you got movement, you have movement to one side, so the vertebrae can turn one way, but they can't go back the other way. Or maybe the top 3 levels are moving pretty good, but the last 2 levels in the low back are very rigid. So with very gentle but very specific stretching, we can help get all the segments to have movement a little bit independent of each other again. And that's important for the circulation in the area. It's important with nerve compression issues. Elderly people often have really tremendous degenerative changes on X-ray or MRI. However, those changes are present often long before a pain episode begins. So they have an episode of pain or an intensification of pain, and yet the architectural changes in the back have been there a long time. So it's very possible to get back to very little or manageable pain levels, even in the presence of bad arthritis and degenerative changes, if you can just help quiet down the nerve irritation and restore a little bit of local movement there. That helps the circulation. It's also really important, if a person has low back pain, to make sure that there's good mobility in the hip sockets. A lot of movement, if you squat down to get a pot or a pan out of your lower cupboards, should be happening in your hip joints. And if your hips aren't able to do that, then there's always more wear and tear on the back. So that's important. With walking, the low back can really be benefited by a treatment program that enables you to learn how to bring back in movement in all different kinds of ways. You know, I don't want my clients walking around like Johnny Depp in Pirates of the Caribbean, but one reason why that walk of his was so funny is because he's wiggling in all these different dimensions at once. Now, normal walking should have components of all different dimensions in it without looking like Johnny Depp at the same time. So I hope that's some helpful information. And another component for low backs, of course, is that you have to have good abdominal muscle strength too. That often is very helpful for low back pain issues. And often people come in and they show me abdominal exercises they've been trying to do or have been taught, and they're way too hard. They've got to just really back it up and start off with something much easier, slower, and build in the progressions instead of starting with too hard, too much, too soon.